Happy Friday! Hello to all. Welcome to Coffee Break with Christine. Today, we're going to change gears a little bit and we're not going to talk so much about my guest and her business, but more about mental health. It's a subject that she's very passionate about, and so I'm excited to highlight her, but also talk about this. I'm celebrating something special today, also related to mental health, so it's a perfect time to talk about it. So today I'll be interviewing Betsy Castro. Here she comes. Come on. Okay, here she comes. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Que guapa.
Thank you.
I love the earrings.
All for you, all for you.
Ah, thank you. I miss you.
Oh, I know, I miss you too. I feel like I haven't seen you forever. Well, I haven't since February,
I
right?
Yeah, I think so. A long
It's been a
time.
while.
Yeah. Well, how are you holding up with your business and quarantine? Well, first, go ahead. Introduce yourself. I was saying that we're going to switch gears a little bit today. We're going to talk about your business, but also about the mental health aspect. So, yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everyone know what you do and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Awesome. So, hi, my name is Betsy, and I'm a virtual assistant. I specialize in private practice for mental health providers. Like I said, I love mental health, anything related to that. I went to school for that and everything. And that's just what I love. I do work with other entrepreneurs who are not necessarily in the mental health, but I do have, a special place in my heart for anybody that's in psychology.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what kind of services do you provide with the virtual assistant business for the mental health businesses?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I do and the main reason that I get hired for it is to do the initial consultation, which is to kind of like not a diagnosis, but kind of like the pre diagnosis, of see what is it that they need, what kind of
Mm-hmm.
help that they need, explain the process to them, and then book the appointment. That's one of the main things that they hire me for. And of course, the calendar management, the blog writing, social media marketing, and anything that has to do with administrative support in a private practice.
Awesome. And I was thinking before, you and I you were one of my first friends when I moved here almost 2 years ago now, which is crazy. Um,
No.
and we met for coffee. We met through Instagram, and then yeah. So I'm grateful to have met you. You kind of gave me hope because when I moved here, I didn't even know that there were so many entrepreneurs in Miami. And so, yeah, you kind of gave me that hope, like, because I was lonely and didn't know anybody. And so,
Yeah, and you too, actually, because when you reached out to me, I think we were like almost at the same with the virtual assistant, how long we've been doing it.
hmm
But I had reached the point that I was lonely because I didn't have any coworkers. I was always at home. My husband was working. I live super far from my family. So when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, another virtual assistant, a friend that's a virtual assistant, somebody understands.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. And originally you're from Nicaragua, and you were telling me that it's your dream to go back there and to educate people about the importance of mental health issues. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? I also wanted to say today I'm 8 years sober. So it's like
Yay.
a special day actually for me. And I started the journey like 10 years ago or almost 11, but I had a little bit of an issue in after a few years and went back to drinking. And so yeah, but today like is super special for me too. So it's appropriate that we're talking about mental health.
I know, right? It's so awesome how that aligned, and
I
congratulations,
know.
by the way.
Thank you. Thanks. Not always easy, but I know I wouldn't be where I am in my business and in my life without it. So I'm super grateful.
Yeah,
But yeah, tell me a little bit about Nicaragua and what you're passionate about and how it's related to mental health.
yeah. So I have this theory, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if it's true, but
Mm.
if you know about, if you've seen the news about Nicaragua, you're familiar with Nicaragua, there's a lot of issues politically wise over there. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they keep repeating the same mistake. They go from one dictator to another dictator, and then the followers keep following a dictator, and they don't even realize that it's a pattern that they keep happening, that keeps happening. And I have this theory that the reason I believe that that's happening is because when it comes to the parenting style, and this is not only Nicaragua, this is actually across Latinos and maybe other cultures, that they tend to be very authoritative with their parenting style. It's
Mm-hmm.
very like, do as I say because I said so, no explanations, just do it. And I feel like that environment of bringing people up like that, it creates either another dictator or people that follow dictators, and the cycle continues. And
Mm.
that's the way that I see it. And actually, I went to a meeting a few days ago that they talked. I can't remember the name. I wish I could remember. I think it's called uh, in Spanish it's called biología cultural, or biological culture.
Mm-hmm.
You keep repeating the same mistakes. You keep doing it again, and you don't even realize that you're doing it because it's part of your culture. That's just
Mm.
how it is. And there's a lot of mental health stigma around seeking help, about realizing your own mistakes or admitting what you're doing wrong, because that's another thing. We're so prideful, like we cannot admit, oops, I messed up, I'm sorry, can we start
Mm-hmm.
over? It's like, if you do that, it's weakness. If you do that, you're messing it up. There's something wrong with you. So that's the whole thing that I want to change with that. Just let people know, look, let your kids speak to you like they're humans. They have opinions. If they're doing something wrong, take the time to explain why that's wrong. Not just tell them that you're wrong, and that, because then that grows up to make you feel that you're bad. Because that's something that happened to me actually. I wouldn't, when I would do something wrong, I wasn't really explained why I did wrong. And sometimes it wouldn't necessarily be something wrong. Like an example would be like maybe speaking my mind, or because of something that I didn't like, and then I was bad just for speaking my mind. And then
Mm.
it turned me into never want to say anything. I turned into kind of like quiet. I kind of just speak to myself, not speak when spoken to. Even though I have like a bunch of amazing ideas, I feel like I can't speak out of them because they told me, shh, be quiet.
So you were like afraid of authority and of your parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like, that's with every people that I've encountered, that
Mm.
the Latino culture. So that's
Does
one.
your husband have that too?
Oh
Because he's
yeah.
from Nicaragua too.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Interesting.
And he's like that with his parents. I remember that when we and him first started dating, he wouldn't even tell his parents what he was majoring on because he was scared that they wouldn't approve, because they wanted him to study a certain career, but he couldn't bring himself to say, I don't want that, I want to study this. And
Mm.
like little things like that you wouldn't think it's a big deal, because I mean, if you want to study something, you study for it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so common that it's normal.
Yeah. Sasha says, this feels so relatable. Same here. My parents are Cuban. That's interesting. And so do you
Hey
still
Sasha,
feel,
sorry, I know Sasha. Hi
oh, you do?
Sasha.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for joining, Sasha. So do you still feel that way, or how do you suggest going about breaking that stigma or breaking that relationship? You know, are you still that way with your parents, or have you found a coping
No,
way?
I found different ways, because another thing, it's the way that we communicate. Since I never understood why I shouldn't say certain things, I would just not communicate, or I would just burst into anger. Like I never got the appropriate communication skills.
Mm,
And a lot of self-help books do help with that, but I feel like that also only gets you so far, because then you have questions that are more personalized to your particular situation, and that's when seeing a therapist becomes um, good to have it, because then it's just more tailored to you. Because I feel like those self books, they do help, but they're very broad, they're very like
hmm.
general in a way, and we all have the same kind of way issues, but at the same time we all have our unique issues, and seeing a therapist kind of helps you figure out what are those unique issues, and what are the unique ways to approach them in your situation.
I can imagine. I mean, I've seen a therapist for years. I even continue now, like online. She's in Boston, when I moved. And I can imagine a lot of questions come up, especially if you've been taught something one way for your whole life, and then you're reading a self-help book and it's telling you like the opposite or telling you something different. then I can imagine that there's a lot of questions and confusion that come up. So,
Yes.
yeah, I can see how having a therapist there to even just answer the questions or explain, what's normal or whatever would definitely help for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. And another thing that I kind of wanted to point out, just to kind of bring out even more awareness on the stigma,
Hmm.
I remember that, well, I don't remember, I've been told actually, that when I was little, I don't know what grade I was in, but when I was little, the teacher told my mom that I needed to see a therapist, that I was very distracted in school, that it seemed like I needed to see a therapist. But because of the stigma, my mom never took me. And in my head, I can only imagine if I'd have seen a therapist back then, maybe
Mm.
all those struggles, all that depressive nights, all the things that I went through, I probably wouldn't have not gone through because I would have gotten the help that I needed back then, not like
Wow.
almost 20 years later, 30 years later, you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. So what do you think the solution is? Like so first of all, do you guys plan to move back to Nicaragua permanently, or it's just kind of like a movement that you would like to start there, but then you guys are going to stay in Florida?
No, I would love to go back to Nicaragua. Not, to be honest with you, not anytime soon.
Okay.
Because not besides of everything that's going on, I feel like I
Hmm.
still am in my own journey when it comes to healing and mental health. So how am I gonna go and teach other people when I'm still in my journey in a way?
Hmm.
Um, but I definitely would like to go back one day and bring more awareness because I feel like it's more awareness and more people like coming out about the situation that they have and maybe bring it more familiar. Maybe because I'm a Nika, my husband's also Nika, because he's also seen the benefits now of the whole self help and seeing a therapist. Maybe making that normal by simply talking about it.
Hmm.
And that would be like a way to start, just like I'm doing right now, just talking about it until the time
Hmm.
comes that we go back over there and make something with a bigger impact, I guess.
Hmm. I'm curious your thoughts if you've heard anything. So since Corona came, like everyone has had mental health issues, obviously struggle with relationships, being locked at home with people that maybe they don't want to be with or shouldn't be with. Um, so have you seen anything in Nicaragua change in terms of like it's okay to ask for help since COVID hit?
Um, Not really, to be honest with you.
No.
Not, I feel like, and I kind of feel bad about saying this, but when coronavirus started, the thing that they started teaching the people over there was how to wash their hands. And
Mm,
it was like so primal, but I guess that's what the country needed at the time. So
mm-hmm,
if we're so worried about little things like that, how can we even bring the mental health part? Because let's say
mm,
if a person is hungry, that's another thing. If a person is hungry, they're not gonna be thinking about their mental health. They're worried about eating. So I feel like the issue is much deeper in Nicaragua, but it does need more awareness in the mental health department.
I see. Gotcha. Um, And so besides, just talking about it, do you have any other ideas, once you go over there about what you could do to bring, to reach the younger generation so they don't grow up with the same fear that you did?
Yeah, it would have to be something related to free therapy over there because that's another thing. It's you have to make those resources available for people.
Mm,
Um, so it would, for me, my dream would be to go back and really have foundations that offer the mental health for completely free, and it would be beautiful to have even the own Nicaraguan people
hmm.
guide that, have therapists from Nicaragua be the ones that run it, be the one that
Hmm.
does all of this. So not only like helping the people, but the people that receive the help, then they become the educators as well.
Hmm. And then the word of mouth would spread and it would grow that way. That's interesting. Do you mind sharing what your breakthrough was? Like what caused you to change?
Well, for me, it got to the point, like I said, that self-help books were not helping me more. I feel like
Hmm.
I had more questions and I had nobody to ask. Like in my family, I'm the closest one that has like a mental wellness, and I'm kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like I had nobody to ask.
I don't think you're crazy.
So that's how I felt. I felt like I really didn't have anybody within my circle to like go beyond the conversation of how I was feeling.
Mm,
Um, I was like, whenever I felt like I had a struggle, I would be told, don't feel that way. And it's
mm,
like, okay, but I'm feeling like that. Like, why? Like, I had more questions about that. And since I couldn't get the answers that I wanted from the people around me that would just tell me to not feel that way, then I was like, you know what? I need to look for help. Luckily, my insurance covers it. So I found a therapist that took my insurance. And from there, it went on. Like, seeing a therapist was what helped me kind of like raise my prices in my business and start getting like those yummy clients. Because you know what they say, when you have issues within yourself, it reflects on your business.
yeah.
And I got to a point that was happening. Like I felt like I was stuck in my business. I was doing everything I needed to do, but I was not moving.
Hmm.
So that's when I was like, I need something else. And actually, you mentioned this yesterday, I think, in the with Odalis about the whole figuring out your self-worth. Going to a
Mm,
therapist was what made me figure out that self-worth. What's what pushed everything, and that's what helped my business move even more. And that's why I'm like, if it could do that for myself and a business, why wouldn't anybody want to do this?
hmm.
You get mentally well, you get your business well, so why not do it? I don't see the negative of seeing a therapist.
Yeah. I can even remember back in the day, in the US that it was kind of like stigmatized or like it was like hush hush, don't tell anyone that you see a therapist. But now I think it's pretty normal and there's famous people that speak out about it and about giving help for depression, thankfully, thankfully it's
Yeah,
becoming more normal. So that's good. Um,
definitely.
yeah, I can't imagine to grow up in an environment where everything is just like hush hush and kind of swept under the rug and then telling you not to feel a certain way when you do. So I give you so much credit for becoming aware of it. And then, because sometimes people aren't even aware of it. And so they just keep living the way they live because that's all they know and that's what's normal. Um, well, thank you for sharing about that. So now that you've, raised your prices and are leading the way with your business, what is your favorite part about your business?
It has to be the freedom and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason why I started this. Because before I had my business, I worked at a private practice of therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love my job. I love the position. I just didn't like the fact that I had to go to an office, be stuck there for 8 hours, having to wear like a pencil skirt, having to like wear that office attire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And eating out of Tupperware. That I didn't like that. The fact that I had to ask for permission, like the whole 2 week notice before you go on vacation. I mean, I would get approved. No, nobody gave me trouble if I wanted to go on vacation. But the whole fact that I had to ask felt like I was still a child. Like my time didn't belong to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it felt like my time belonged to somebody else. So that's what motivated, and that's what I like the most about my business: the flexibility and the freedom that I have.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. And what are your plans going forward with the business? What are your goals? What's the next step?
Yeah, so I'm building a team right now. I kind of already started building a team. I have a few virtual assistants,
Oh,
and yeah, I want to build it enough so that the virtual assistants are all running it and they don't need me that much because they still need me for the meetings. They do a lot of the work, but they still need me for the meetings, to strategize, to get the clients. Um, but I wanted to have enough passive money so that I can go back to school. I want to study more mental health. I'm working with a coach. Uh, she's actually advising not to go for my master's because I don't see myself going to private practice. Really, I want to learn just so I can take that knowledge back to my country.
hmm.
So she's actually recommending me to just study to be a mental health coach because she says that, the masters, I'm just going to get myself in a lot of debt. And if I'm not even going to like go into private practice, what's the point?
Hmm.
Um, so that would be the next step. I want to make enough passive money with my team so I can just educate myself even more in mental health and just become an expert about it and take that knowledge to my country.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
It's so important to do what you're passionate about and that your business connects to that. Um, it just gives you more meaning and reason to get up out of bed and, you helping people and giving back in your own way is really great. So, um, let's switch gears a little bit. And so I'm sure that you have, having a team and running your own business, how do you deal with time management?
I do a lot of time blocking. I know you do that too because you posted.
I suggested it to someone else I work with, and she was like, she tried it yesterday, and she was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I live by it.
Yeah, I do a lot of time blocking. I love Trello. That's the main way that I communicate and keep everything organized with my team.
Hmm.
And those are my main tools, to be honest, time blocking and Trello.
Yep. Awesome. Um, what is one piece of advice that you have for people that are just starting out or they're like afraid to start a business, but they're going to start a business, but they're not sure what to do?
If they're not sure what to do, I would say to just try something, but don't quit your job.
Right. Stay there first. Yeah.
Stay there for a while. I recommend to like do the test, try what you like, because it does take time. Because for example, when I did it, the whole virtual assistant, I knew I want to be a virtual assistant. I knew that I could do it, but I was having a hard time deciding if I want to go with mental health or
Hmm.
try other type of clients. So it took me a while to finally be like, okay, I'm only going to work with mental health providers. It took me a while to make the decision, even though that's always been my passion. It took me a while to make that decision. So I would
Hmm.
definitely tell you to not quit your job. Keep trying doing the thing on the side until it picks up. And if you want to quit your job, I would say to save at least 6 months of bills worth of bills.
Mm.
Because when I quit, I only saved for like 3 months, and the 3 months went by so quick, and it was kind of scary because I didn't have, I didn't have the income to replace it. I was maybe half of what I needed. So definitely, follow your dreams. And money's not the main thing, but it's very important. It's definitely part of the equation.
Hmm.
So make sure you,
Absolutely.
yeah, make sure that you have that some way.
Hmm. I think but I do coaching for women that want to leave their 9 to 5, but I always recommend, like, I gave myself a year. I was like, okay, I'm going to quit my job in a year and I'm going to start with virtual assistant clients part time. And that's what I did for the whole year before I left and moved to Miami. So I got a feel for what the job was, and got I figured I could balance it if I could balance a full-time job and the part-time clients, and then just started to grow it slowly when I knew I was leaving for sure. So definitely planning ahead is super important because you just never know, like Corona could hit or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's been tough for a lot of people. So, um, and yeah, like you said, figuring it out, I figured out I didn't love doing the VA part so much, when I first started, and that's what motivated me to become a coach. But the good thing is once you have a foundation, you can always pivot or move or try something different once your business is up and running. So
Exactly.
definitely.
I
Well,
agree.
we're almost out of time. I saw you drinking. What's
Oh
your
yes,
favorite hot drink? I always ask
my
everybody.
my favorite is actually cappuccino or café con leche.
Yeah,
So
me
my favorite.
too. You're a girl after my own heart. Um, awesome. Well, tell people where, they can find you and, what you're doing. Do you accept new clients as a virtual assistant currently?
Yeah, I'm accepting new clients right now.
Mm-hmm.
They can find me at www.hellobetsyann.com, and also on Instagram. This is my personal Instagram, but I do have one that's called the Mental Health VA, and I put a lot of tips there, not only for therapists, but even people who are going through their own journey.
Mm.
Disclaimer: I'm not a therapist. I don't have my coaching certification yet, but I've been through things, and I can give experience, information based on my experience and advice on my experience. So you can find that. I'm sorry, the Mental Health VA.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you would like to say or share that we didn't cover?
Um, I would like to say that you can do everything, but not, I mean, you can do anything, but not everything.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I say that because another thing, the reason that I feel like this, because I've always had the entrepreneur spirit.
Mhm.
I actually, when I was like in first grade, I used to like paint rocks and sell them to my classmates.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I've always had, that entrepreneur spirit, but I also had like that whole self-doubt that I mentioned earlier. And I feel like the reason that this business that I'm in right now has been so successful is because I took a chance on myself.
Mm,
But just because I went to the solopreneur doesn't mean that you have to do it alone all the time. You're always going to need people. It's important to trust yourself, but also trust other people that they can get you and help you and ask for help.
mm-hmm. Exactly. Awesome. Well, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
You
you.
did
Thank
your
you for
first
having me.
interview, so you did great.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was nervous because it's live. I've done like interviews here and there, but it's either written or
Yeah.
recorded. Be like, oh, edit that out. But live is like, oh my God.
Well, I thought it was great, and I will actually upload it to YouTube and send you the link after, and then it'll stay on Instagram TV as well.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. It was lovely seeing you, Christine.
Yes, you too. Hopefully, we can get a coffee in person soon.
Hopefully. All
All
right,
right.
my
Have a
love.
great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.